Welcome! This is the What's Next series for the lower elementary student. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Ms. Hoffner and I'm the guide in LE1. This is my 8th year as a lower elementary guide at Starwood Schools. A little bit about me. My education trained me to be an elementary teacher for kindergarten through 8th grade. However, I felt there were some philosophical differences between what public schools were offering and what I truly believed in. I myself was a Montessori child, and when thinking about my future profession, I decided to pursue my Montessori credentials. I also have received further certification in a Montessori STEM program, and I continue to learn more every single day. About Starwood Schools. So we are an authentic Montessori experience and vibrant school community where bright, curious children become engaged learners, confident individuals, and prepared achievers who make education their own. You can see from the photos on this slide that they're showing the age range of the children that we serve, from infancy all the way through middle school. The aim of this presentation is to offer a look into the journey of the 6 to 9-year-old child as they work their way through lower elementary. So even if you do not have an upper elementary or middle school student yet, I do encourage you to view the other What's Next presentations because you can see how Starwood Schools meets the needs of each child at the specific levels. So what makes Starwood stand out? First off, we are a high-fidelity Montessori school and part of the American Montessori Society. Our guides are trained and stay current on Montessori best practices. Our head of school, Ms. Hanks, carries with her a rich Montessori legacy that guides the growth and the vision of our schools. Everything that we do is guided by our core values. From curriculum development to school-wide events, we make sure that decisions are made keeping our values at the forefront. The end result of our approach, our legacy, and our values can be seen in our fabulous graduates. Students who have been given the opportunity to grow within our community, they're confident, critical thinkers who love learning and are ready for the future. The What's Next series is an opportunity for you to visualize how your child will benefit from our programs. So this is a pretty fabulous quote. So Dr. Maria Montessori had so many wonderful quotes, but this one particularly stands out when thinking about what makes the lower elementary years so special. In this presentation, I hope to highlight some of the key elements of our program that fosters responsibility and independence in our learners. So here's the big question. Why Montessori? Why is it essential for the 6 to 9-year-olds? So first off, Dr. Montessori observed 4 planes of development for children. The first one is from 0 to age 6, from age 6 to 12, from 12 to 18, and 18 to 24 years old. The lower elementary student is beginning the second plane of development. During the 3 years in lower elementary, the children, they become social beings. They build strong relationships with their peers, and they have a need to connect with and learn with others. They also begin to develop a sense of moral responsibility and social justice. Students are concerned with fairness, and they're capable of standing up for themselves and for others. We see this every day. Another difference with children at this stage of development is that they begin moving from concrete to abstract learning. Their thoughts are getting organized, and they're able to conceptualize ideas. Students also become concerned with the why of things. They're interested and they're capable of very big work. We call it big work at lower elementary. I'll talk a little bit more about this later on when I discuss our curriculum. So it makes sense then, when you understand the specific needs of the child, that we don't just focus on the cognitive development, but look at the whole child. So in our Montessori classrooms, we foster the emotional, social, spiritual, and physical development of each child, as well as providing rigorous academic endeavors. Students look forward to coming to school because they feel safe, they feel nurtured, and valued. By honoring the whole child, we're able to guide each student to his or her full potential. Another unique aspect for our Montessori classrooms are our child-centered environments. As a Montessori guide, the first thing we must do is to prepare our environment. Our classrooms are set up in such a way that everything is accessible to the children. The materials are organized on shelves from concrete to abstract, easier to harder. Everything is organized in a sequential manner that makes it easy for the students to know where they've been and where they're going. Also, the supplies are at the fingertips so that they can access the materials needed to be independent with their work. The furniture is also arranged so that children can collaborate with one another and also choose their work area. They can choose to work on the floor, on the table, and they can move around the classroom as needed. We have flexible seating, and we always encourage the children to find work areas that will work best for them. The children really do take ownership of their classrooms. It's their environment, and they show great respect for the materials. At the end of each day, the children restore the order to the classroom by completing their weekly jobs. They monitor the cubbies, they clean tables, water plants, dust shelves, and they make sure that the classroom is ready for the next day. So I'm often asked to explain the difference between our Montessori classrooms and a traditional classroom setting. When I do, people always get stuck on the fact that students are all working independently on completely different things all at the same time. I cannot express to you how beautiful it is when you have a group of children engrossed in their work. At any given time in our classrooms, you may find students working on addition facts, grammar, writing stories, researching animals, or making maps, all at the same time. Or how great it is, like in the first picture here, when you have students working on the same concept but with different materials and at their own level. Although we do have a set curriculum, students are able to move through the concepts at their own pace. There's no need to wait for the rest of the class or to have all students completing the exact same assignment. It might be too hard for some or too easy for the others. So that's not what we do. Along with whole group and small group lessons, we give a lot of one-on-one lessons to give children this individualized attention. We don't rush them and make them move on to the next concept before mastery has been achieved. This allows us to make sure that the child's foundational skills are firm before we build on top of them. It also allows children to go deeper into their learning when they're interested or when they're ready. The student on the far right here with the atom, or with the molecules, he was extremely interested and wanted to learn more about building molecules. So after getting some lessons and having hands-on experience building some common molecules, he went off on his own to research, and he ended up building this beautiful molecule of benzene. So at Starwood, we have the freedom, the time, and the flexibility to encourage our students to follow their interests and passions. Another huge benefit of Montessori is that we have multi-age group classrooms. As previously mentioned, students in this plane of development are very social. We have first year through third year students in our lower elementary classrooms. The younger students look to the older students for guidance and to inspire them. And the older students serve as the role models, and they just naturally take the younger students under their wings. These pictures are a really good example of that. Over on the left, you can see a third-year student working alongside a first-year student. One is working on division, the other subtraction, but they chose to work near each other, and just imagine how both of them are benefiting. The older child is cementing her understanding of subtraction when she offers help to the younger student, and the younger student is watching the older girl in awe and getting excited about doing division when she's ready for it. Another advantage of the 3-year cycle is the strong bonds that are formed between not only the students, but between the guides and the students. A second-year student entering the classroom is picking up where they left off. There's no lost time, no having to get to know one another. The students, they have to have their basic needs met before any learning can take place. And so one of our basic human needs is to feel safe. Returning students, they're just ready to jump in without missing a beat. And from the guide's perspective, it is such a privilege to get to see the growth over 3 years' time with these children and with their families. One of our core values at Starwood Schools is our love of learning. Students are motivated because they intrinsically love to learn. There are definite skills, however, that make students more successful with their learning. At the lower elementary level, we build these executive function skills a number of ways. Each child has their own work plan where they plan their work every day. Students keep track of their lessons they've had, assignments they were given, and they make sure they accomplish their goals. First-year students typically require a bit of support with this initially. So guides provide daily one-on-one conferences to help the student plan their day and find their work. Soon, though, they're able to independently plan their day, they make sure their work gets checked, and they learn self-management skills as the school year progresses. Meanwhile, students are learning valuable time management skills. Each day, they have to figure out how to accomplish all the goals they've set for themselves in only a certain amount of time. When students do achieve their goals, they're left feeling accomplished and excited about learning. When they don't meet their daily goals, we have important conversations where we discuss what they could have done differently. This allows us to troubleshoot and to give the student the autonomy to make their own decisions and the opportunity to build problem-solving skills with the help and support of their guide. Intrinsic motivation happens, so when students are excited about learning, they feel supported and connected to their community, and they have the framework built in that supports the development of their executive functioning skills. And when that intrinsic motivation is there, working at school becomes a source of joy, and it gives children purpose. So here's a little true story. I recently had a parent tell me that when they asked their child what they wanted to do on his birthday, his response was an enthusiastic, "I want to be the first one to get to school." I mean, like on your birthday. That's a beautiful thing. That is what we want for all of the children. We want them to be motivated, not because they have to or they are told to, but because it comes naturally from within. Next, I'm going to talk about the Montessori curriculum, and then I'll explain a little bit more about three main curricular areas. The elementary Montessori curriculum has some key philosophies at its core. One of these is story to study. All of our lower elementary curriculum begins with the 5 great lessons. The great lessons are an important and unique part of the Montessori elementary curriculum. They're used to strike the imagination of the child. So remember, at this stage of development, children are becoming aware of the world and their place in it. These stories are part of what Dr. Montessori developed as her cosmic education. It's referring to the big picture of all things, being connected, and that we each have a role and a responsibility to find our place and our purpose. These stories are typically introduced in the first few weeks of school, and they're done in the form of storytelling. And we build upon them throughout the child's journey in elementary. We use engaging timelines and charts, and we follow up the stories with simple experiments. These great lessons, they serve as the launching point for all other areas of study throughout the whole year. Hold apart is when we present the big picture first and then break it down into its parts. We analyze parts in detail through the school year, showing the interconnectedness of things in the world. For example, the first great lesson is the story of the universe. Later on in the school year, when we are learning about atoms and molecules, we refer to the students back to the story, and they're able to build connections between topics. The spiraling curriculum is that students are not just introduced to one concept at a time, and then it's over. With a spiraling curriculum, students come across the same types of materials or explore the same concept with increasing detail and complexity over time. For example, bead bars, used for counting in a primary classroom, are then used for memorizing multiplication facts in a lower elementary classroom. Those same bead bars might be used in upper elementary when learning about negative numbers. Our students learn by doing. So they work first with concrete materials and they move towards the abstract on their own over time. They learn in a hands-on way with educational materials that were scientifically designed to meet their needs. This hands-on method allows children to explore and understand the concepts in great detail. It's easier for a child to move from concrete to abstract without any stress. For example, children learn long division by first completing division problems with the golden beads, then the stamp game, and then finally the test tubes. The materials actually help students to visualize long division much earlier than if they were to just be taught the algorithm. Finally, the student's depth of learning is at the heart of all of our big Montessori works. Because of the mastery-based personalized learning, whenever students are interested in a topic, they can make an active choice to explore it deeper. We see this all the time when our students show interest in doing more research on a topic or when they show mastery by giving lessons to their peers. In language arts, students acquire the foundational skills required to become capable writers and engaged readers. There are several components to our language curriculum. We focus on reading fluency and comprehension, spelling, analyzing sentence structures through grammar materials, strengthening vocabulary through word studies, and we combine all of those skills together with our creative writing and our literature circle activities. Our literature circles are small groups of students that meet each week. For first-year students, we typically share a picture book, and then we discuss the book and have a follow-up activity that is highlighting an important element of literature. Our third-year students, on the other hand, will read a chapter book over many weeks and will meet to discuss and analyze the text. Just this last month, we completed author studies in the classrooms. We read many different books by the same author, and then we analyzed their similarities and differences between the texts. We also evaluated their characteristics of their writing style, and the author study culminated with the students researching the author's background. As for their writing grows in elementary from basic sentence structure to writing complete sentences and stories. It's wonderful to see students excited about their writing. The hesitant first-year student who may need help just getting 1 or 2 sentences on the page, they end up writing with confidence and for enjoyment as time goes on. And they love doing illustrations to go along with it. You can see that in the middle there. In the area of mathematics, it's where the Montessori materials really stand out. The math concepts are presented using concrete materials, so not only can they solve high-level math problems, but they are able to visualize the why and the how. This ends up creating learners who are confident and with a strong foundation on which to build the higher-level math skills. You can see on the right here the child who has built all of the different fractions. What a wonderful way to learn about fraction addition, subtraction, and equivalence. Math is also an area where students receive a lot more one-on-one lessons. This allows them to progress and grow at their own pace. For example, in my classroom, I currently have a second-year student working on long division with the test tubes. In the same classroom, I have some older students who are just beginning their work with division and are using the stamp game. We observe each child to check for understanding and readiness as they move through the curriculum. Once the students have internalized the concepts through the materials, they just naturally move on to more abstract concepts. This happens in all of the different areas of mathematics, from fractions to geometry and from addition to division. The use of materials makes it easier for our students to learn higher level concepts and form a solid foundation for future learning. Okay, on to cultural studies. I love this picture on the right of students working together to build a paper structure for one of their engineering design challenges. Students collaborating, communicating, learning from one another and alongside each other. These are all the hallmarks of a cultural curriculum at the lower elementary level. Cultural areas involve a wide variety of topics from history, geography, botany, zoology, astronomy, earth studies, and engineering. There is no limit to a child's learning in the lower elementary classroom. As we give lessons in the cultural areas, we always refer back to those initial great lessons so students can begin to realize the interconnectedness. Their interest and curiosity is further nurtured through individualized research in the areas that interest them the most. This encourages students to develop their passions at a higher level and allows their creativity to flourish. In our classrooms, technology is integrated with our curriculum. We utilize Chromebooks, and students become familiar with using Google Apps for education by making slideshows or perhaps collaborating on a Google Doc with another friend. We also use Google Classroom to post resources for our students to view or explore as follow-up options after we give a lesson. The goal of integrating technology is to create critical thinkers that are familiar with how to utilize technology as a tool for being creative and resourceful, rather than just viewing technology as a resource for entertainment and consumption. Now I'm going to share a few other aspects of lower elementary that you may have been wondering about. First off is homework. Do we have homework? Yes, we do. The main homework that we have is monthly book reports. They're designed to give students the opportunity to connect our classroom to the students' homes and to have our students grow in confidence. That's the biggest point. Students get the opportunity to practice public speaking and presenting to their peers. It's amazing to see the confidence in our students blossom over time in our safe, nurturing environments. Our students learn how to be respectful and supportive of their classmates, offering positive comments such as, "I really liked your loud voice." Or they'll get called on and say, "I can tell that you put a lot of effort into that drawing." It's very, very sweet. I really believe that this is a huge benefit of our school community. All right, assessments. I think oftentimes people have misconceptions about Montessori, and they think that just because we don't give grades that we don't assess our students. This is completely inaccurate. Assessment is an ongoing process in our classrooms. We check in with our students before, during, and after their work to check for understanding. In addition to our observations, we utilize MAP assessments, which are given 3 times each year and are used to guide our instruction. They're computer-based, individualized tests that help us see where each child is at and what we need to do as guides to help each child reach their full potential. We also have learning outcomes that we have developed as a school. When developing these learning outcomes, we not only looked at our Montessori curriculum, but also at state and national educational standards to ensure that we were developing students without any gaps. These learning outcomes not only inform the guides, but also tells the students what is expected of them by the end of their 3rd year. Our 3rd year students take ownership of these learning outcomes in the form of I can statements. For example, you can see on the right a student's learning outcomes folder. Here's a list of statements saying things like, "I can solve 3 dynamic multiplication problems with 4 digits." Once a student feels like they have mastered that concept, they take an assessment and can keep track of what learning outcomes that they have achieved and which ones they still need to work towards. This ties into our intrinsic motivation piece that I talked about earlier. When students are given the expectations and they're given the reins, it allows them to take ownership of their learning. We have many special events for our elementary age students as well. All of our events are opportunities to build community, have fun, and create memories with our students and families. We just finished up our Reading Roundup week. Lower elementary classrooms, we were able to meet with authors over Zoom and create readers' theater performances to share with each other and with PLC. Starwood Schools has hosted family game nights, drama showcases, music performances, and many more events that bring our families together inside and outside of the school. Obviously, this year is a bit different, but we are proud that even in these times, we have thought outside of the box to find ways for students to connect, and the sense of community remains strong. So I can't end the presentation without talking about the capstone year. The 3rd year in an elementary classroom is the year when skills solidify and we're able to witness tremendous growth. This is the year that we begin having students lead a portion of the parent conferences. They begin communicating to parents what their strengths are, what their challenges are, and what are their goals for the rest of the school year. Leadership opportunities abound in our classrooms for these students and in the school community as a whole. There are specific leadership opportunities for our 3rd year students, including reading with the younger students, giving lessons, checking work, and other special classroom responsibilities. There is almost nothing that a 3rd year student likes more than helping a younger student with their work or giving a younger student a lesson. If everyone could demonstrate the same kindness, empathy, and joy that our 3rd year students show to our younger students, the world would definitely be a better place. So thank you so much for taking the time to view this What's Next presentation. We value your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my passion for Montessori education with you. Thanks.